I'm really looking forward to this next interview. A report has been funded by AgMart and commissioned by the Hemp Industries Association of New Zealand, which has come out to say that we need to unshackle the burgeoning industry, which will be hemp, if we can get rid of our outdated attitude towards it. By 2030, we could have a $2 billion industry with 20,000 jobs attached to the hemp industry. Joining us now is the report's author, industry strategist, Dr Nick Marsh. Good evening, Nick. Now, Nick, let's take a little bit of a step back and set the scene. What position of influence or sort of experience and knowledge did you have about hemp going into this from your previous academic history? But then what similarities did you find when you have emerging success and emerging industries and seeing how hemp is playing out in that direction?
Okay, Sarah. So what I discovered, in fact, it was a chance conversation with a guy sitting next to me on the plane, actually to Wellington one day a few years ago. And we were talking about what we were doing. And I said, "What are you in?" And he says, "Well, I'm looking at hemp." And I said, "Well, yeah, what's hemp?" I had no real clear idea what exactly it was. And he said, "I'm captured by this cannabinoids, these molecular compounds in the plant." And I said, "Never heard of it." And he said, "Don't you realize that the human body has a system that can listen and be influenced by these cannabinoids in the plant?" I said, "No." "Yeah, they can heal you. They can heal you out of the hemp flowers. There's so many illnesses. And the star is CBD, which I'd never heard of, which reduces inflammation, pain, and stress and anxiety." So blow me down, last year, I found myself in Hawaii, we were just on holiday, and I was staggered to see this hemp CBD was everywhere. It was even in the supermarket by the checkout. It was in the gas station. Hemp available here, hemp balms, hemp, little bottles of CBD. And I thought to myself, what's going on here? And then I realized that if I bought any of that product in Hawaii and flew back home, strictly speaking, I could be arrested for having drugs, because in New Zealand, we define hemp CBD, which is completely non-psychoactive. It's a healing agent. We defined it as an illegal substance. So then when I got back, I started talking to some hemp farmers back in the South Waikato and started to discover that there's up to about 150 farmers in last season trying hemp, trying to grow it and see if it could be a new crop for them. And I went to one of the farms, and hectares and hectares of this plant, it wasn't that very high actually, and understood how it worked, and how the whole male and female plants and how the flowers are fertilized and how the flowers actually have the CBD. So I said, I've got to know more about this. And then I found that the association would rather like to have a bit of strategy work done. And they didn't have any money, but I thought, oh, well, maybe I can help out here and do a bit of strategy work. So that's how it all got started.
$65 billion industry, this is in US dollars, by 2030 is the global hemp industry, and we're set to potentially capture $2 billion, but there's quite a few barriers in the way, isn't there? How can we overcome that, and what did your report uncover, Nick?
So just to explain, Sarah, we do have a nice little startup hemp industry in New Zealand. As I said, we've got a number of farmers who've been growing it, and there's a number of companies processing, but they're only allowed to process the seed and the fiber. So most of the plant, they're not allowed to process or touch, and it has to be disposed of, which is ludicrous. Okay. So, and that's where all the cannabinoids are, where in America, it's currently 2019, $1.6 billion market just in the States, but 1.2, which is 75%, is CBD only. So we can't touch the biggest market in the States and in Europe for the sake of no great good reason. And that's really becoming more and more obvious as something that we need to fix. And we need to fix it. The simple reason that we are at economic war, Sarah, as you well know, and as farmers know, as everybody knows, we can't muck around. We can't be stupid at denying ourselves economic benefit by hanging on to laws that actually are completely self-defeating.
How much does this referendum around recreational use of cannabis affect the hemp industry? Because we know when you delve into it, they're not directly connected. However, they are in terms of attitude.
Well, look, I explain to people who most of people are really quite not informed about cannabis. The word cannabis, unfortunately, to most people means marijuana. Marijuana is the strain of cannabis that has THC, which is the psychoactive substance. The hemp side of it has the CBD. The other one has THC. So look, if that referendum goes for a yes vote, what will happen is, as has happened in other American states, it will blow up the logjam we've got, because essentially government, whoever the government is going to have to reconsider. They've got medicinal cannabis and a licensing system for that, which is only for prescription medicines. Over here, they've got hemp, a licensing system. And then they've got the illegal economy of the green fairies, which is natural health products made out of marijuana, and obviously the recreational side. And where they've dealt with this in the States, they've just thrown it all up in the air and said, hey, if we're going to legalize marijuana, then we have to start from scratch again and work out the smartest way of doing it. And my argument is very simple, Sarah. Why don't we start with the best thing for economics, for regional economics and job creation? Let's start with that premise, because frankly, most of the cannabinoids are completely harmless. And THC is harmless, actually. Not a lot of people know THC is actually in every one of the medicines. The cannabis medicines has THC in it. So THC is a healing agent, whereas most people think of it as some terrible, wicked thing.
From a food safety perspective, in your report and your research, is that an absolute farce?
Look, I think the issue here is that if you're a regulator, fair enough, your job is to protect safety at all costs, safety of animals, safety of trade. However, there needs to be a voice on the other side, which is about what's best for business growth, for export revenues, for the good of the economy. And I think that balancing act has never really been done, because basically most of the regulation has come out of the Ministry of Health as a health and medicine and pharmaceutical argument. So I think that it's time to sort of balance up and sort of look at the greatest interest across all of our interests as a nation. And get a better balance. And I tell you what, Sarah, the Aussies are already moving on this. The Aussies are already looking at this. They have the same sort of laws, but they've actually got a better legal structure. And they are looking at making CBD over the counter in pharmacies legal in early 2021. And if they do that, we would look absurd. So we would be able to go over to Sydney, go to a pharmacy, buy some product, get on the plane and come back here. And what are we going to do? Search our luggage and lock us up? Because it would be illegal here and legal over there. And this is the farce that's going to develop.
Oh, there's a farce going on about those Australians beating us with the Betterslow Cup as well. And of course, some connections could be made, Nick, with who's running the country with regards to COVID, the health versus weighing up the economic benefit as well. So a lot said. However, I want to understand before we close, how did you get to the $2 billion per annum? In theory, what would need to happen for that industry to become to that level?
Well, quite honestly, we looked at it from various angles. There was previous research done, which we weren't able to quote, but previous research done that looked at maybe $1 billion. Look, if you allow New Zealand companies, entrepreneurs, farmers to get on with the job, we are brilliant at how did we put Cloudy Bay in premium position in all the top supermarkets in England some years ago? How did we do that? We're not known for anything to do with Sauvignon Blanc wine, but we did that. Why don't we put our products in premium positions in not only there, but in San Francisco, in Beijing or whatever? We can do this again, but just cut the red tape. Let's get on with it, please.
What an excellent way to end. Thank you so much, Dr. Nick Marsh. I believe there'll be a lot of listeners and our viewers that will not disagree with that last comment.
This is Sarah's Country.